So thrilled to have you here today, Ejike Egbuagu, Chief Executive of Moneda Invest Africa. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
What unique alternative credit solutions do you offer to support energy projects in Africa? And how does this differ from traditional financing methods?
So first, I think it's important to just take a step back and look at where we are in Africa. For the typical SME or entrepreneur, you have bank loans, which is the easiest because banks are on the streets everywhere. They take collateral, they're interest bearing. Whether your business works or doesn't, you owe the interest. Then you have private equity where you give off a stake in your business and you potentially can lose control. You know, um, Typically these two haven't worked so well. When you look at development, at the grassroots in Africa. So we had to take a step back and think about, okay, how else can we finance our people? And what we've kind of created, we call transactional equity. So it's not interest bearing. So we put the financier and the borrower, in the same bucket in terms of alignment. If the business doesn't work, we don't get paid. Therefore, we care about every decision of the borrower and we're fully aligned. And that's kind of how it differs, we're truly aligned with the borrower and we want them to succeed and we make them succeed.
Mm. And how do you leverage, your 50 years of combined expertise in energy um, and corporate finance to identify and assess investment opportunities across the continent?
Just like I explained, we've come out of traditional spaces of banking, of trade finance, private equity, and it's this realization of the limitations that have caused us to evolve into what we are today. And it's based on these 50. I think it's a bit more now because the team continues to expand. We might be at about 100 years now of combined top level experience on the continent, but it's this experience of the limitations of financing in Africa that have caused us to create this new format of capital. Um, we know where the gaps exist. We focus fully on natural resources because we believe in our investment thesis that this is the real epicenter of growth for the continent. How do we use our natural resources as triggers for growth? So we don't really want to support the sale of raw materials, but we want to support locals participating in the processing, and the value chain of these resources. We believe if we get that right, we can transform the continent in our lifetimes.
Mm. And in what ways do you guide clients through the complexities of the African market, particularly in energy and structured trade sectors?
So what we found is that the problem is not just cash, it's not just capital, at least not in Africa. So we had to build, a team, and people have called us half bank, half contractor. We essentially had to build, an execution capacity that in some cases even surpasses that of the borrower. Essentially on lending both capital and capacity. And that really is the secret sauce, the guidance, for the borrower. Because you can't expect a young a starting entrepreneur in the energy space to have a full complement of an engineering team, or accounting or legal or compliance. And how then are they expected to compete against competitors from other parts of the world? So in that sense, the guidance really comes from the capacity that we inject into the borrower's day-to-day activities.
And how do you evaluate and mitigate the financial and operational risks associated with investments in Africa's energy landscape?
It's really a core skill, to be honest. It's really a core skill. It comes from deep understanding of the markets that we've chosen to deal in, which is natural resources. So we operate along, three verticals, of energy, of minerals and industrials, and of agriculture, which is the latest, vertical in our funding stack. But we build core expertise in these spaces, and that gives us a very natural competitive advantage over other financiers in those spaces. We know exactly where the challenges are on the currency side, so we know what transactions to do in US dollar and how to mitigate with local currency. And it's really the operational positioning that gives us the edge, I would say. The fact that we're part of the transactions with the borrowers, that separates us from the banks.
Mhm. And can you share some specific metrics or frameworks that you use to measure at the success and impact of your investments in local economies across the continent?
I mean, there are different metrics that we look at, to be honest. But one that really is really personal to me is watching growth happen. There's one customer that I speak of very fondly, who the first time we met had core competence personally, but wasn't given an opportunity by the banks because he couldn't provide collateral, um, and his contracts were very small. So it's difficult to identify who has potential to be a critical SME. When he came to us, his contract sizes were 20,000 US dollars, which is far below what a commercial bank would want to touch. We took that on because we saw in this customer the willingness to grow, the dedication, and also the technical expertise. We took him on, and over 2 years, they've grown consistently to a point where they just received a buying house agreement from NLNG, in Nigeria, with contracts valued at least $500,000 per month. And what's happened there is someone who just couldn't be backed, who couldn't get the backing he needed, now has the ability to employ more people to take their place, as a critical SME, and contribute their own quota within the local participation ranks. I find that very exciting to watch that transformation happen. And now they go on to start producing. From procurement contracts, they move into processing, to assembly, to employing people, and fulfilling their own mandate as local content.
And just my final question, what key outcomes are you looking to achieve at African Energy Week?
I mean, so for us, Energy Week, Africa Energy Week specifically, has been a bit of a mecca, for us at the team at Moneda. We've been coming for the past 4 years, and we have a long-term partnership, with the Energy Chamber, for backing the Africa Energy Week. So we see ourselves as partners, to be honest. This year, we're very proud of the progress. We were here when there were very few of us. So to see everyone here makes us very proud. In terms of what we want to achieve this year, we're launching for the first time a product that we think will revolutionize the contractor finance space. You see, I usually look more corporate, but I'm promoting this new product that I think is revolutionary. It's called Musa, and it's named Musa after the legendary Mansa Musa, who reminds us of a time where we were all very proud of the wealth of Africa, and when the wealth was very visible to the rest of the world. And we think that we could have such a time again, if we get it right in terms of financing and pushing participation of Africans in the value chains of natural resources. So this is what we're very proud of. We're also launching or promoting our African Content Credit Fund, a $250 million fund, specifically for supporting these SMEs to participate in natural resources. And that's really what we're pushing this year.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.